is the approval of the audience, of the spectators.
Could you say that again?
In English? The effect, let's not say what does it mean. The effect of the eloquence is the approbation, the approval of the audience, the hearers. Can you see this? People who hear.
Yeah, the audience.
So apparently, this would be translated in our modern tendency would be to translate immediately the effect of the eloquence is the approbation of the audience. But then, if you think about it, this kind of tautology, Aristotle, Cicero is using this in a philosophical word, in the sense, what he means is the effectiveness, the reality, the being of eloquence is the approbation of the. For him, it's not cause-effect, it's a mode of being. The real consistence, the reality of the eloquence resides in the approbation. So it doesn't see, according to our model, cause-effect, but more according what you want to say, it's less banal. It's like that. And in the other first occurrence of the terms, like that, also, for instance, Varro, in his word of Latin language, he uses the term effects with respect to language. He says, when we compare words, terms, we have to pay attention not only to the form, for instance, two terms who are similar. We must also pay attention to effectum. What can this mean? When we look to terms, we are working on language, we have two terms who are like, one like the other. We must not pay attention only to the form, we must pay attention to the effect. It doesn't mean the effect. How can a term has an effect? It means the effectiveness of the usage, the real presence in usage. What it means, so we must pay attention to the functioning of the term in language. So two terms can be similar, but then when we use them, we see that the effectum, their consistent, their reality is completely different. But it's not an effect. You see that, and it's clear because the term effectum comes from the verb efficere, which means operate, be. And then, as I mentioned yesterday, we see that effectus will become one of the terms that Latin will employ to translate the Aristotelian opposition potentiality potentia-actuality. Dynamis energeia, they will translate dynamis as potentia or possibilitas, and they will translate energeia effectus. So it's not an effect, it's clear, the act is not an effect of the potentiality, it is the realization. Realization, can we say this? The effectuality, the becoming effective in being. Yeah?
I just wanted to ask, I know I see a problem for me. In English, traditionally, Aristotle's four causes of being, material, formal, efficient, and final. But that efficient cause seems to be making use of a retroactive use of effectus.
No, this is Latin late Latin translation. These are late Latin translation of the Aristotle vocabulary. So again, we see the same problem because the term, I told you the term effectus is already existing in Latin, although it's quite late, 45. On the contrary, the term efficacia, and efficax are late 3rd century era, and they are the creation of Christian authors, Christian theologians. Again, to explain this thing, and another interesting in Latin, we find often esse in effectu, being in effect. So it's clear, it's mode of being, it's not the effect of something. Can you say this, to be in effect in English?
Yeah.
It means that something is in rule, is effective, is in force. It's there, it exists. So it's clear that effectus in Latin did not mean only effect in the sense of what results. It means a mode of being.
Like we would say martial law is in effect.
Yeah, for instance, in effect, when we say here in English, we are more similar to the theologian's meaning, a mode of being, not that there is a cause and effect. There is the effectivity of something, effectiveness, I would say. So in Latin language, this is more clear because we employ a lot the term effettivamente, effettualità, meaning real, meaning reality. And then, for instance, they will say effectum capere, to take effect. Can we say, you say in English, to take effect?
Yes.
So again, take effect, so doesn't mean means become enter in reality, becomes real, no, I suppose. So I could go on a lot on this, but just to show you that what happens there in what I didn't tell you, then we see that effectus, which is rarely employed in classical Latin, in the vocabulary of the Christian liturgy is central and designates what the reality of the sacrament. So also the effects in the sense of the faith, but more precisely, as Casel is right, the reality, more the being which is present and realized in the sacraments, especially the Eucharisty, referring to the presence of Christ, which is Christ is there in its effectiveness, which is a mode of being, which is not the historical presence, but a mode of being which in a way coincides with its effects, works, operates. So it's also, we see two things, a transformation from a mode of being to the other, and also a transformation or a shifting of being towards action, towards praxis. Because in the idea of this idea of effectus, being becomes an operation. Something who work, which is working. It's not there neutrally, pure appearing of something. Something that works. So to speak, that's more near to the ontology, could we call the ontology of technology. Mm-hmm. Technology, the ontology of technology, you cannot separate being from operating, being operative, functioning, working. So it's a great transformation of the mode of being, but I think which is ours. We still are in this conception of being. And even more, because then we have technology, etc., all things that work, that shift being in this operative dimension. Which is strongly in the German term Wirklichkeit, because wirken means to operate, to act. So that's what I wanted to tell you about the history of the term effect. So that now, if you want, we can discuss about everything. Yes?
Just while we're on etymology, just an etymological question. What is the difference between official and artificial?
Official?
Yeah, and artificial.
That means completely different.
There's
no, the only thing, perhaps the second part could be...
Yes, yeah.
Because according to etymologists, the ancient said that officium, office, come from the verb